Hello there. Kind of weird that you're in my closet, not gonna lie. But that's alright. I forgive you. About a month ago, when I was planning this trip with my friend Zach, we decided we were going to meet up in Malang on September 27th, but that gave us about 2 weeks or so between the time when I was landing in Indonesia to when we were going to meet over there. 2.5 weeks-ish, I guess. And so I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go. And so I was looking up different places, and I found this place called Lampung, which is on the island of Sumatra, which is just to the west of Jakarta. And so I decided to come. However, I know it's not really a touristy destination. In fact, when I asked other people about it, nobody I've ever met has ever come to this city, even though it's the 4th largest city in Sumatra. It has more than 1 million people. But even when I asked Indonesians, none of them had ever been here. In fact, 2 of them had a very negative stereotype of people from Lampung. They say it has one of the highest crime rates in Indonesia. So that was promising. But after all that, I decided, I'm just gonna go for it and see what's over here, try some new things, and I think, there'll be beautiful places for me to go and try to visit here. So we'll see some in the next videos and some places I try to go. Basically, from Jakarta, I asked around and found that there's a bus that goes straight from Jakarta to Lampung. And so I went and bought a ticket, ended up being 255,000 rupiah. And basically what happened is I got on the bus in Jakarta, and it went about 1.5 hours to this place called Cilegon on the west side of Java. And then we drove the bus straight onto this giant ferry. And it was pretty cool actually, but I've never been on a ferry like that before that you can just drive onto. And so there were a ton of other buses, some people who were transporting things, different workers, even some people drove their private cars on there and were just chilling in their cars. But this voyage, the part on the ferry across the strait, was about 3 hours, give or take. So it was actually a pretty long boat ride, and so all the people on the bus mostly got off the bus and they had separate different places for us to sit. And so there's this place over here that had these mats that you could sit on, and you could be kind of out in the ocean breeze. But to sit on the mat, apparently you had to rent it, which costs 15,000 rupiah, which is just $1, but I'm trying to save money, so I didn't want to do that. There's also a VIP lounge that you could stay in. I don't know exactly how much it was because I just assumed it was going to be too out of my price range. And then on the top floor, there is a economy class seating for free. And so if you want to, you can go up there and sit. This is kind of what the chairs look like. And yeah, it was actually really funny. They had a funny safety presentation telling you, what to do in emergency, where life vests are and all that kind of stuff. And at the end, they actually started selling this fancy oil, kind of like some kind of essential oil. I don't know exactly what it was. They called it minyak angin, which means wind oil. I don't really know exactly what it was, but they gave a bunch to it, everybody for free. They're selling it to people. You put it on your forehead if you have a migraine. You can rub it on your legs if you are feeling like you're not getting enough circulation or your legs are sore. You said put it on your belly if you're having problems digesting. So it's like some kind of all-purpose essential oil. Pretty fun. They were selling it for like $2 a bottle. But yeah, so after 3 hours, it was really beautiful. I walked all around the ship, tried to look at some different things, see what was there. but it was really pretty. Once we started approaching Sumatra, there's tons of like little tiny islands off of the coast that have a little beach, or some of them are really small. Indonesia is said to have over 17,000 islands, and so I'm assuming some of these little tiny ones are counting towards that 17,000. But it looks super pretty. It looks a lot like some of the places that I went when I was in Thailand. Looks like some of the pictures I see on Instagram of places like Vietnam. But we'll see. I might try to visit some of these kind of closer islands in the next 2 weeks and let you know how it goes. But basically, I was the only foreigner on this entire boat. And I was actually surprised because people didn't really think that I was a foreigner. Some people think I look Indonesian. Some people think I'm obviously not Indonesian. But people weren't staring at me as much as I thought they would be. But finally, after about 3 hours, we pulled into the dock. Had to go back downstairs and get back on the bus. Drove off of the ferry and drove for another about an hour and a half up to the main city called Bandar Lampung. I was dropped off and had to wait for a little bit, and my Airbnb host, Willy, actually came to pick me up and bring me to the Airbnb for free. And he has been the most incredible host I ever could have asked for. He is extremely nice. He's invited me out to breakfast twice already, and I've only been here for 3 or 4 days. And I highly recommend him to anybody who wants to come visit Lampung. I'll put a link to the Airbnb in the description. And finally, after this long, exhausting day of travel, about 6 hours on this bus, which is also crazy because paying less than $20 for a 6-hour bus ride is crazy. I decided to go out and try to find some food. And so I went out and walked around a little bit and found this place that sold satay padang, which is basically like this sauteed chicken covered in this funny sauce, and it comes with something called lontong, which is basically smashed up rice in a banana leaf, I believe. Yep, it's a banana leaf. I just looked it up, but it's a banana leaf. But it was delicious, highly recommend. It was a little bit on the pricier side actually for Indonesian food. I was surprised at how much it cost, because I kind of assumed that Lampung would be as cheap as some of the other places I've stayed in Java, but it's closer to Jakarta prices than I was expecting. It was 30,000 rupiah, which is $2. So I really shouldn't be complaining, but I'm not really complaining. It's just more than I thought it was going to be. And that was pretty much it. So now I'm finally here in Lampung. I'm super excited to go and explore a little bit of the island. Hopefully I can find some places that, well, I'm already in a place that most foreigners have never been, but I'll find some cool places, some cool recommendations if you guys are wanting to kind of get off the beaten path. Obviously when people come to Indonesia, everyone knows about Bali. Everyone wants to go to Bali, and there's a couple other places that, you know, if you're a more savvy traveler that maybe you've heard of and want to go visit. But Lampung is definitely one of those places that's not really on anybody's radar. Even after talking to Willy, who has run this guest house since 2007, he said there's been a total of 6 Americans that have ever stayed here at his guest house, and 3 of them were in the same group together, so it's just these 3 guys that were traveling around together. And so I'm basically the 4th reservation of an American. Almost everyone who stays at his guest house is Indonesian, and he has only had Indonesians since the beginning of the pandemic. And it's now mid to end of 2022, and there's still no foreigners here. Part of that might be because to come to Indonesia, you are required to be vaccinated. I think they got rid of the option of just having a negative PCR test. But that's about it for today's video. I hope you found this interesting. It was kind of an interesting video today, something I haven't really done before. But it was a really fun adventure trying to get here. I think Lampung is going to be really fun to explore and try to visit. I've already heard there's actually a ton of waterfalls in this area, and so we're gonna go try to visit one of those. There's some actually really cool crystal clean, pristine beaches. And there's even a place that's called Nemo Park, where apparently it's this kind of coral reef where there's tons and tons of clownfish. And so a lot of the locals will go there to go snorkeling and find some Nemos. And so we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to go there or not. It's on the more expensive side for this area, but I found some really cool places. I think I'm going to try to rent out a boat and go some island hopping. So stick around, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I go to some of these places. See you in the next video.